The other thing that I have to say about about me almost going into homeschooling at one time in my life is the fact that we have to look at facts in a court of law and not theories about people. So if they're going to make up theories about me that I was basically going into homeschooling because I was going to commit a crime, and I thought that maybe due to being homeschooled, it would be easier for me to commit the crime or something like that. Anything that they say about this, you have to look at the fact that theories do not hold any weight in court of law, especially if the theories are coming from people in law enforcement who try to fabricate the wedding crime against me in 2023. Or theories are coming from people like Farrah the Greedy Framer, who are not only advertising her daughter to me all day and night long, every single day, including right now, a little while ago. July 21st, she advertised her daughter to me. Or my dad, the Greedy Framer, who's been caught lying so many times. And the end result was that in early April 2026, he lied very aggressively and he abused every single person in court, only to make sure my brain savant couldn't get unlocked. Ibrahim, the Greedy Framer spokesperson, he was involved in November 20th. He knew about it. He made lies against me in after November 20th. He pushed them forward really aggressively. He pushed forward lies against me in early April 2026. All were complete and total lies. These people, all of them, worked together on all of these lies together. These people lied about me over and over and over and over again. Till now, all they had were lies against me. There is not one single factual piece of evidence against me whatsoever. Not one single piece of factual evidence against me whatsoever. So yeah. And the fact of the matter is that law enforcement also has to understand the fact that law enforcement's been BFS with every single person out there. And from 2001, they've been running sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws, and that yeah. So basically, if law enforcement wants to make up another theory that maybe the reason I was never seen in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could have been said around me was because I knew that law enforcement was watching me or something like that, this theory cannot hold any credibility. The main reason is due to the fact that the settings where anything even bad was said remain saying bad things in them. So if that was true and I knew that I was being watched by law enforcement, wouldn't those settings be changed? Wouldn't I go and tell those settings, like, you got to stop saying these things because law enforcement is watching over everything? Wouldn't I do that? Obviously I would, and that never happened. In fact, no one was ever tipped off by anyone except for law enforcement. So if Assad is involved in the wedding crime, Assad is tipped off by law enforcement. If there's someone in their house saying bad things about the government, then that person is tipped off by law enforcement. If Uncle Joey's in-laws, Uncle Joey's saying something bad in his house, then Uncle Joey is tipped off by law enforcement. All of these people are tipped off by law enforcement. My dad, the Greedy Framer, in 2011, recruiting people to go join terror groups and commit mass murder, he's tipped off by law enforcement. Every single person is tipped off by law enforcement. You got to understand the fact that if someone's doing something bad, they get that much of a tip, like that much, they go like that. They disappear. Everything goes out. Everything stops. The entire circus in 2011 ended in one night, which is why I knew that my dad had to be tipped off. I didn't know this because I was psychic. I knew it because there was a circus in town. Tents, animals, circus animals, everything was there. Every single person being given that sermon in those circuses, they all agreed with him. This is why I knew that that one person who wasn't agreeing out of the 50 had to be a government informant. And you could go check back at the records. You'll find out that that one person was a government informant, clearly showing that that was a very dangerous setting, since every single person agreed with every single thing my dad, the Greedy Framer, was saying. So that one person who wasn't agreeing, that he had to be a government informant. I didn't have to be a genius to solve this one. And when law enforcement obviously checked back at the records, they found that I was telling the truth on this, which is why as soon as I made the video, I went back to my TV's home screen and it said card counter on there. I didn't have to be a card counter, okay? I didn't have to be a genius to know this one. The one person who was disagreeing was obviously a government informant, which makes it a very dangerous setting because the rest of the 50 people are basically agreeing to everything that the Imam, my dad, the greedy framer, is saying, to join terror groups and commit mass murders, due to which we don't know how much casualty he's caused, how many people were actually going back and forth from terror groups, what was going on, because law enforcement tipped him off. So if the theory that law enforcement is trying to create is that the reason I was trying to go into homeschooling was not because I was being bullied, but because I was tipped off. You have to understand the fact that if there were any settings out there where anything remotely considered bad was being said, that setting would have changed like that. If anyone was tipped off and told, like, if I knew about it, then everyone else would know about it. If other people knew about it, then basically their settings would change. And yet their settings weren't changed till when? Till law enforcement tipped them off. Law enforcement always tipped them off. Every single person was tipped off by law enforcement. And if you try to make this theory about me that the reason I almost went into homeschooling was not because I was bullied, but because I was committing some sort of a crime, then you have to look at other people in the family, like Sohaib, who took like almost 90 days out of a semester in high school one time, and he was also definitely present and involved in the wedding incident. So does that mean that Sohaib was took 90 days out of high school one time due to him trying to commit some sort of a crime? I don't think so. Well, I don't know. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But the fact of the matter is, in courts, we look at facts, not theories, especially if those theories are coming from people who have fabricated so many false testimonies, including Ibrahim, the greedy framer spokesperson, drug addict, who has also come up with numerous theories. Numerous lies and false testimonies against me. So yeah, you have to understand that if I knew that I was being watched by law enforcement, due to which I wanted to go into homeschooling, then then that circus, if there were any circuses where anyone was even saying anything remotely considered bad, you got to remember the guilty person's conscience. It would go away like that. It would go away overnight, but that's not what happened. That's not what ever happened. Instead, these people were all tipped off by law enforcement and not by me. So if I knew about it, then I would have been tipping them off. But obviously I didn't know about it, which is why I wasn't the one tipping them off. And that's the biggest piece of evidence. The biggest piece of evidence is the fact that law enforcement tipped everyone off and not me. And you know this for a fact due to the fact that in 2023, when law enforcement wanted to frame me for the wedding incident after August 25th, 2023, when after that I basically said, look, I want to study. Well, anyways, so in that year, 2023, law enforcement was basically running their money fraud and sex schemes, both very aggressively, very stubbornly, very adamantly. They were running their sex schemes and money fraud, which money fraud basically literally ended like 2 months ago because the government was just like, we've had enough. That money fraud stops right now. And that's when they stopped. And before then, they were really stubborn in it. So yeah, it's no secret that law enforcement tipped everyone off, not me. If I knew about, they're not letting me talk. If I knew about being watched by law enforcement, I would have been the one tipping them off. Everyone who could have even remotely have said anything bad in their own houses or anything like that. And the biggest evidence of this fact is that a guilty person's conscience, they will change like that as soon as they get slightest bit of noise, they're being watched. You have to look back at the evidence from 2011, my dad, the greedy framer. The entire circus, the tents, the animals, the noise, everything was gone like this overnight. And I can give you detailed descriptions of the government informant the night it was the last night for the circus. And it was a very dangerous circus, considering the fact that there was only one person disagreeing. And I knew for a fact that that one person disagreeing was the government informant. Due to which, as soon as I made that video letting everyone know detailed descriptions of that one government informant in the circus, out of the 50 people that were agreeing with him that everyone should join terror groups and commit mass murder, clearly showing that people were probably joining and coming back, also due to my dad, the Greedy Framer, being an imam like that. And yeah, I didn't have to be a genius to know that this one person who was disagreeing obviously had to be a government informant. You got a group of 50 people in a room, and out of those 50 people, no one's disagreeing. So obviously these people have been giving these sermons for a long time. They're all radicalized and they all agree with what is being said, which means that this person who's disagreeing has to be the new guy. And if he's the new guy, then he's a government informant. I didn't have to be a genius to solve this one. And as soon as I made the video saying this, my TV home screen said card counter, mainly because I guessed it right. And I knew it right, and it wasn't a big secret. I didn't have to be a genius to guess this one. So yeah, there you go.